we're here to just be in community. This pavilion has been like a hub for all of us, like in amongst the madness of COP and all of the busyness that's been around the conversations. We've kind of come to the Entertainment and Culture Pavilion to kind of center ourselves in community. The conversations have been really empowering and just grounding. So I hope that...
As soon as I walked in, it just felt like a very good, lovely energy here. That's nice. Yeah,
they've worked so hard to make it that way. Yeah. So thank you for coming. And just as a bit of context, Ellie and I have crossed over on a project with a beloved friend called Maggie Baird, who is the founder of Support and Feed. We have Isaiah Hernandez here as well, who's also an ambassador for some of the work they do around climate change, music, food, fashion, and so on. And for those of you who don't know, Ellie is extremely accomplished and extremely talented. She is a UNEP ambassador, an ambassador for WWF. She is a champion for nature-based solutions. She's passionate about rewilding, which I think is incredibly relevant right now. And she's been really on the case of our politicians when it comes to climate change. She's been in those rooms trying to advocate for us. So we're just really grateful to have an ally in the culture and the arts, using her platform. So I was just curious to ask you, how did your journey, or what inspired you to kind of use this form of activism? Why did you feel that there was a moment or a need to use your platform to talk about these kind of issues?
I think this started when I started touring. I started touring when I was 21. I signed a record deal around then. But I grew up in a small village, and nature was my my I don't want to say savior, but it really was, because I had a tough time at home. And so it was kind of my solace, and I would go for walks, by myself. And my house was small, so I couldn't sing in my house. So I'd go and I would walk through the fields and sing in the fields. And I got to know, every single part of my village, and it was really remote. So that was where my love of nature came from, really. But then when I started, I guess, touring and traveling the world, I naturally became really aware of my footprint in every way, because I was in tour buses, I was flying, I was using so much equipment, and also I'd been vegan for a long time, and I was vegan just because I was a fussy eater when I was young. But then when I realized what kind of footprint that had too, I kind of got to know a lot about climate through not eating meat, actually, and understanding how much it took for our obsession with meat. So it was kind of all around that same time. So I learned from people. I had conversations with people. I eventually got involved with the UN, of course. And I visited Greenland, I think that was my first kind of eye-opening experience, and seeing something, seeing ice crashing down in front of me. It was the most visceral thing that I really saw. So that for me was the point where I realized that I couldn't unsee what I'd seen. I couldn't unhear what I'd heard. And now I feel like it's just part of me. And my through all of this, my love and my passion, my connection with nature is so strong. It's stronger than ever. It's all connected. Obviously, it's a dual thing with nature and climate. So when I realized I had that platform, it's too tempting to talk about the things that you're passionate about. I every day see stick to singing. We don't need you in politics, but of course it's not political. This is something that now affects every single person in the world, and I'm not one of those people that can learn something shocking and something that involves so much, I can't think of the word, but I hate injustice so much, and equity, and in music I learn so much through my job, and so it's just really something that I can't turn my back on now, whether I like it or not. I don't want to.
No, but absolutely, because it's actually overwhelming, and I think you're right. There's an inequity in how business as usual continues, or how we're living, and I think as someone who's clearly compassionate about all living things, of course you would feel that you have an opportunity to use your craft to storytell. And we celebrate our musicians and our artists because they're such great storytellers. They're able to make us feel things in a way that policy and hard facts and data just doesn't always translate to. And I mean, if you were able to look online, your speech and your piece at Overheated was absolutely one of my favorite. I really recommend you go and have a look at that, but it was so emotive. You touched on kind of plant-based, for example, and that relationship with climate. If you were to share maybe one or two things that kind of shocked you about impact, or just any kind of example, what would you say was something you learned that you couldn't quite believe, like that's such a huge impact?
It just, I mean, what do you mean by impact? Just
like
impact
maybe kind of emissions, or just any kind of stats that you've heard and you thought, I had no idea.
Oh my God,
could be so overwhelming.
The stats never end. It's like every day there's a new stat that shocks, and it's getting to the point where we're becoming almost like numb to the stats, and so it's exhausting. There's like a fatigue of bad news, and so with that in mind, I mean, there are so many, and I think also learning about the connections between, me being sat in my house in London and knowing that everything I wear, everything I eat goes back to, I was just in Colombia, goes back to the Amazon, goes back to indigenous people. And so it's all so connected. And then I think the more you learn about that, the more you understand that we've been kind of not... it's just learning. It's like understanding, and I was so ignorant to that for so long, and I think with the stats thing,
no, but I feel the same way. I actually think it's so overwhelming that sometimes it's not really about the stats of the situation. It's just finding a way to connect with people on something of impact. So what you're doing with rewilding, and even being here at COP.
Well, it's like there's stats for days, but it's about like how many lives are being lost.
Exactly.
It's about lives. It's like how many people are being affected right now, and that's why COP is such a special place. And I know there's been like a lot of boycotting, a lot of people not wanting to attend. And I understand that with the oil presence, but it's about everybody having a seat at the table. It's about everybody being able to come here and tell their stories. And like you said, storytelling is the most important thing about what I do, but also here. And, the biggest indigenous presence that so far. And I think that is just so important, and I, for one, I'm so glad that I can attend and be here.
Well, that was my last question. I was actually going to ask you was just why COP? It was so happy to see you, and especially to see culture and arts represented. And I was just curious to know, like, why did you feel that this was a good year to come to COP? And what would you love to kind of leave, having had the chance to say or just to discuss with the people who are here?
I think it's so important for me to hear everyone's story and take it back with me to people who don't get to be here, who perhaps like to be here and ask questions and understand why things aren't happening quickly enough, and understand the huge oil presence. I mean, which is just going to happen here. I think I wish there were more opportunities like this for all of us to be together. Even just walking here now, you feel the love, you feel the connection between people, and that's what nature does, and that's what our backgrounds, our livelihoods, are the way that we grew up, and the way that we figured out what we love and what is means something to us. So I mean, this is a place where decisions really are made, and a lot has happened already, a lot of really positive things, but it's a chance for like literally everyone to be together, from politicians to activists. I just wish more people could be here to hear these stories and to be around this energy. And this is kind of where I feel like my people are.
So your crew's here, absolutely.
Crew, yeah.
Because it's like in everyday life, it's like you're often one of a few in the room having this conversation, right?
People might not believe this, but I'm quite a solitary person, and I'm quite an introvert, and I don't go out that much. I don't like hang out that much. And genuinely, when I say that being with you guys, being here, I suddenly feel like I don't know. I do get a kind of, believe it or not, this is the confident version of me. Like I said, I can sing, for hours. But I'm a shy person. I was a shy kid. I was an anxious kid. I was scared of everything. And I was scared about pollution when I was like 10 years old. So, those things I would just had a really acute sense that things weren't right when I was really young. So that's why I'm here now, I guess.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Ellie. Thank you for just hitting the ground running and giving us such incredible answers.
Sorry, I was a little bit unprepared.
No, not at all. Thank you for your advocacy. And can I just say, yesterday I attended a preview of a movie called Be the Change that you have kindly narrated. You're just using every opportunity you have to use your voice for good. And I really appreciate it. Speaking from the heart, we all appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you all for being here as well. You're all amazing. Thank you.